So let's talk just a little bit about Johnny Winter's style and his tone. His style, I would just describe it as relentless. You know, when he was playing rock and roll, and on this song, this is a good example. Most of this album is that way. He's just going for it all the time, and I can't do that. I mean, I can kind of play some of his licks, but I can't get the spirit of it down. I haven't seen anybody who could. You know, there's a lot of great players online these days, and maybe there's somebody out there who can. But most of the guys I've seen playing, you know, you can play Johnny Winter licks. They play them with their own tone, though, and he played with Fender Twins, 2 to 3 of them generally, dimed, the volume on 10, treble on 10, zero bass, and sometimes zero mids. People vary on, you know, stories vary. Sometimes they say add a little bit of mids in, like on 2 or 3 or something. And basically no effects is absolutely the most unforgiving tone you can imagine. And I mean, any mistakes you make are going to be magnified 100 times by the fact that it's all treble. There's no delay, no reverb. There's nothing to cover up your mistakes. So that in itself would be a challenge for anybody, and I haven't seen anybody even try that really. Usually when they play Johnny Winter licks, they've got their delay going like normal, and they've got this lush reverb. And really, the amount of treble he played with, I think he used a neck pickup most of the time, with a crazy amount of treble. And then Jumpin' Jack Flash, in this song, you can hear him, they say he used no effects, but there's a wah-wah pedal in there. And you can hear him kicking on. I'll play that for you. Makes one sweep with it or something, and then he just leaves it on as like a treble boost. Having his Fender Twin on 10 was not enough treble for him, so he cranked up, he turned on the wah-wah, full treble, toe down, and got a little more treble that way. So, incredibly distinctive player. I've never heard anybody sound like him. I tried to on that opening solo, but you know, I just don't have the energy to do that. I like to stop and pause on a note once in a while, and you know. But he was one of a kind, and that was not all he could do. I mean, he could play lots of styles if he wanted to. He was a killer blues player. That's really the thing you need to know about him. On this same album, there's a song, It's My Own Fault, where he plays every blues lick known to man, and great phrasing. All that thing I said about him being relentless and hard charging, he didn't do it on that song. He could play a slow blues with the best of them. But when he played rock and roll, he played rock and roll. So when Johnny Winter formed Johnny Winter and, he recruited 3 members of the McCoys, famous for Hang On Sloopy. And there were 2 brothers, the drummer and the guitar player, the Zerringer brothers. Randy Zerringer and Rick Zerringer. Rick decided to change his name to Derringer. Randy kept his original name. And Randy was replaced. By the time this album came out, he'd been replaced by Bobby Caldwell, which was a wise move, because Bobby Caldwell kicks ass on this record. Okay, let's have a look at and a listen to what Rick Derringer played on the chorus of this song. The chords are just D, A, and B. It's so let's listen to that for a second. And the way you play that is like this. So you're starting on the open D string, sliding from 3 to 4, then up to the 2nd fret of the A string, 4th fret of the A string, pull off and back down to the 4th fret of the D string. Then you repeat that on the A string. Same thing, only down a string. And then exactly the same thing on the E string. And then on the B, but of course there's no open string for that, so you play it on the 2nd fret of the A string. Okay, that's that whole thing. So they were a great rhythm section, and I kind of want to point out the way they worked together and the way Rick Derringer worked as a member of the rhythm section, because he didn't play that much lead in this band, but he was a great rhythm player, and well, he was a great lead player too, but this was Johnny's band. He had a much more normal tone, I guess, more normal tone, humbucker type tone than Johnny Winter did. It wasn't all treble, and he played a lot more conservatively most of the time, because Johnny Winter was, he was the front man. He was singing, he was going wild, and high energy all the time. Whereas Rick Derringer had the luxury of, concentrating more on keeping the song together. So let's look at a few of the things that he did there. Okay, let's look at the way Rick Derringer tightens it up and uses dynamics to get quite a bit quieter during the guitar solo. Okay, so Rick Derringer started off boldly, at full volume, like going. And that's just the chords to the, to the song, except for this one little slide up. But then, when they want to, when Johnny Winter starts playing his solo, they bring it down a little bit, so guitar player can be heard over everybody, and at that point he starts going like this. It's quieter. It's all on the low strings to keep playing tones that are competing with the lead guitar. And that's what you need to do, and they did a really good job of it. When Jumpin' Jack Flash starts off, Johnny Winter plays the opening chords. Excuse me, more like. And then when the band comes in, Bobby Caldwell, like any good drummer, he immediately sets the right tempo for the song, a little bit faster than Johnny was playing it. And then throughout the song they get a little bit faster all the time, because why wouldn't you? You know, you're in front of a large group of people, everybody's having fun, you're getting excited, you're going to speed up, and I don't see where that's a bad thing. Nowadays people are really obsessed with rigid tempos, but you know, for live, I don't think that's a thing at all. You want to get excited, and the song takes off a little bit. Now, when I say it's sped up, it's only, God, who knows? It's certainly maybe 5 or 6 BPM or something. Who knows? Now, on the outro solo, we have another good example of Rick Derringer's use of dynamics. He starts off like this. Just playing the chords, basically. Then, when the solo gets going, the rhythm section kind of hunkers down. They all kind of tighten up and get a little quieter. So I don't think people were going to have any trouble hearing Johnny Winter anyway, with his 2 or 3 Fender Twins all on 10. But that's what you do when you're in a band. You know, when there's a solo going, you hunker down a little bit and let the focus be on the star for a while. So at that point, Rick Derringer starts going like this. That's just that old, you know, rock and roll boogie woogie thing. You slide up, and you kind of deaden the chord right there. It's just a power chord, by the way, a B power chord. 7th fret on the E string, 9th fret on the A string, but you slide up from 1 fret below, and then you have the little finger on the 11th fret and going up to the 12th. So it's like. You can see that I'm moving it up to the next pair of strings, the A and the D for the E chord. You're outlining basically a B7 chord and an E7 chord. And you don't just play it all out. You kind of mute it a little bit and play it kind of gently. You want to stay off the high strings mostly, because that's what, in that register, you'd be competing with the lead guitar. So you stay on the low strings, and Johnny Winter's up on these high strings, and he's able to cut through. Although, as I said, I doubt if he had much trouble cutting through in most venues.